these Hydro Abyss mages over to the Electro Crystals to quickly break the shields. However, because nothing in this challenge went smoothly, the Abyss mage kept flying back and respawning the shield. So I just had to rely on the eye of perception. And I don't want to talk about how long it took to break one shield, let alone to do it all again with another Hydro Abyss mage, now supported by shield Metaturals. Finally though, we complete the Dainsleif quest. Now it's time to start We Will Be Reunited. This quest starts off unassuming enough. After all, we only have to defeat phase 1 of the Abyss Herald. Unfortunately, reuniting with Dainsleif means more awful enemies, starting with an unholy amount of Cryo Abyss mages, which may as well be just as bad as the Hydro Abyss mages. So I mentioned this on my community tab and on Discord, but with Honkai Star Rail announcing Dan Heng will have a third version, I will be doing a Dan Heng only. Star Rail is one of those games where it's really difficult to make challenge runs because there's a super limited amount of creative ways to play the game. I'd imagine there's already an only challenge for every path and probably for every element. I also knew that I wanted to do a challenge where I could incorporate Dan Heng because he has been my day one main, literally, and I generally just love him very much. Something about angsty wind boys with complicated backstories, I guess. Back when I first started filming Arlecchino only, I actually also filmed part of a Honkai Star Rail challenge, The Hunt only. Unfortunately, it was much harder than I anticipated, and I filmed all of it with the same bad quality setting that Arlecchino and Mondstadt was filmed with, so I gave up on it. But I also decided if I ever do a Honkai Star Rail challenge, it would have to be one specific circumstance. I told myself and Twitter that if Dan Heng got a third form, and mentally hoped it would be a Path of Preservation or Abundance form, I would do a Dan Heng only. It seemed impossible with only Dan Heng and Imbibitor Lune, but now my prayers have been answered, and Dan Heng has a Preservation form coming soon. So when that releases, I'll start Dan Heng only. I can probably survive with only Dan Heng in his Preservation form, but I'll hope Imbibitor Lune returns soon. On that post, I got some comments asking if I'll do the same with March. Maybe? I'll both see how Dan Heng goes, how well it does here on YouTube, and then also see how her kit looks. March technically only has her 2 forms, since her Hunt form is treated the same as the Trailblazer's path change, meaning it replaces her Preservation path. So it would be harder since I would only have 2 characters versus 3 with Dan Heng. Anyways, all that to say, I am very excited to start Dan Heng only. Fingers crossed it doesn't flop. After suffering through an unfortunate amount of Cryo Abyss enemies, it's finally time to see the Abyss Herald again, and this round means fighting both phases. While we do that, here's a lesson for everyone, since I'm sure some of you are either back in school or preparing for it. The Chinese translation of the English word contradiction is Mao Dun, which directly translates to spear shield. This term dates back to a story in a book from 3rd century BC. In this story, a man attempts to sell both a spear that he claims can pierce all shields and a shield that he simultaneously claims cannot be pierced by any spear. When asked what would happen if he used the spear to strike the shield, he was unable to answer, leading to something called an irresistible force paradox. A similar story exists in Greek mythology, with the Timesian fox, a creature that can never be caught, versus the hunting hound Laelaps, who has never failed to hunt. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Well, we now have a third example of this paradox, also known as the unstoppable force paradox. Introducing Kokomi, a level 20 Hydro Catalyst only able to do minuscule damage every minute via her level 20 weapon, versus the Hydro Abyss Mage, with an immunity to Hydro. Kokomi, for what it's worth, is neither an unstoppable force nor an immovable object, but, well, she can't really die, so. The only unstoppable force here is me, having already posted that I was doing the challenge and too much pride to give it up. Now, pop quiz. How long do you think this fight took me? A, 5 minutes, B, 10 minutes, C, 15 minutes, or D, 20 minutes? The answer? You're all wrong. This fight took me so long that I stopped midway through to go eat dinner. I just opened the Paimon menu and left my game running while I walked away because I realized how late it was.
1 eternity later.
It took me 30 minutes. After all of that, I decided to reconnect with nature and take a nap before returning to the domain to wrap up the quest. At least we don't have to beat phase 2 again. Well, for now. With We Will Be Reunited complete, I've nearly reached the point of being able to finally level up Kokomi for, well, the only time in the challenge. I did a few rounds of the weapons material domain so I could reach AR 30, and ran out of resin with less than 300 experience to go. Figures. So I ended up going to Sumeru to unlock some waypoints.